Sorry about that. So let me back up for just a second. So the reason I like to talk about the replacements and soothers later on is because it allows us to have everybody in the group start coming up with ideas, because you've seen a lot of really cool ideas, right? A lot of questions. Can I use this? Can I use that? What about trying this? What about trying that? And so the reason that's happening is that your brain is looking for a way to keep you safe. And keeping you safe means being able to still have something that that calms you down when you get triggered. Like that's what we do, right? So does that make sense? Like I think that probably everybody on here is willing to admit that we've been looking for like options, right? Like what are some of the options that we can do? Our brain frantically looks around. I'll tell my story because I have a really good one to tell on myself. I've been doing this no sugar, no alcohol, whatever, for a while. Like, and I don't do it all the time. Okay. A lot of times I'm in maintenance mode now. In maintenance mode, we will talk about that tomorrow because I think maintenance mode is super important. And well, let's talk about it for just a second right now. What maintenance mode is that when you've gotten past your first 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, whatever it is that you're doing, right? If you tell yourself, now this precludes us saying, oh my gosh, I have to quit. This is like the doctor's orders. I have to quit eating or drinking, or my orders or whatever. This is just like, kind of living life. If you tell yourself, oh, this is just the way it's going to be for the rest of our life, most likely you're not going to be super happy about that. So we need to have something that goes into maintenance mode. And I'll go into this deeper tomorrow, but basically what maintenance mode is figuring out what's going to work for you, lowest amount of sugar on an ongoing basis, and having a splurge here and there. Okay. So splurges here and there, whatever it is. Like for me in maintenance mode, what typically happens is that if I have a trip coming up, or I have like, it's usually a trip, something coming up that's like a trip, I'll give myself maintenance mode. I'm off. I can do whatever I want to during that weekend or week or whatever that trip is. And then when I come back, I go right back into where I was before. It's just, that's maintenance. Okay. And we will definitely dive into this more tomorrow because it's a big deal. So, how did I get to maintenance? So what I wanted to think about was that our brains are protecting us. Okay. This whole time, what we've talked about is the fact that what we're really doing is we're really learning how to deal with our minds. Okay. Because sugar is something that does all the happy places in your mind. So that's why it becomes so hard to not, do sugar. It's just super hard. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the ideas of replacements, which are things that you can actually replace with instead of having sugar, and soothers. And soothers are exactly what they sound like things that can calm us down and make things easier for what we're doing. All right. So first, replacements. First place everybody goes, right? Replacements are always like, okay, so if I can't have this, what about that? And this is what I was going to tell the story on myself earlier. So I've been doing this for a long time. Usually in a given year, 2-3 times a year, it's, 2 to 3 months, no sugar, no alcohol. But this last year, I've told you, wasn't like that. This last year, I was like, screw it, whatever. This is, I can just do whatever the hell I please. That was kind of my attitude from March on. So when we started setting up for the January no sugar that I've been going through with my fitness mastermind, my mind got worried. Like it started casting about, right? Like, what am I going to do? where how am I going to replace having wine in the evenings? I enjoy it, and I do. Like, I enjoy wine. I like wine, actually. How am I going to replace having wine, while I'm cooking dinner or while I'm eating dinner or whatever else? What am I going to do? So I started looking around. I started looking around for what's a good wine replacement, because they make some alcohol replacements out there. Most of them have sugar in them. Some of them are interesting. Like, I've given them as gifts to friends who wanted them. Not because I was telling them they needed them, but, who had wanted them, who'd showed interest. And most of them are kind of interesting, but they do have sugar in them. So I started looking for something that was like sugar-free, and I found it, right? I found this Rock Creek wine, and they didn't call it wine, but it was in a wine bottle, and it had that nice pink, fluffy, bubbly look, and it was botanicals and had, I mean, really good marketing, quite frankly. And I thought, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my replacement. Okay. Because I'm doing exactly what I tell you guys we all do. I'm looking for a replacement, not something to do differently. So buy the Rock Creek, get it ordered, have it shipped here. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap at all. And it got here probably 2 weeks into the first 30 days. And at that point, I was fine. I didn't need it, right? I was just like, I'd gotten past that first hop and that first worry. But I opened it and it was awful. If anyone in here drinks it and they love it, I apologize. But for me, it was like, oh my gosh, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. And so I bought 2 bottles, tried the second bottle. Both of them are fermenting in my refrigerator. So all that to say that I did exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I was in the, oh my gosh, I have to do something different. How am I going to replace what I'm doing? Okay. And yesterday there was a really cool thing, and I'm gonna see if I can find it in the group real quick. I don't know if I can. Actually, I can't. I think it was Sarah uh, who posted it, but it was a sugar-free Bluebell ice cream. I'm like, wow, seriously? Sugar-free? Never even heard of such a thing. So I went out and I looked at it. I looked at the ingredients. The ingredients were pretty, there were a lot of them. Let me put it this way. When I'm looking at ingredients, what I'm looking for is no added sugar. And I'm also looking for not a lot of words that I can't pronounce or that don't sound like something tasty. So there were a lot of them on that. And the reality was, it really was sugar-free. Okay. But all we're doing when we're replacing, like all we're really doing is switching one habit for another. Okay. Think about that for just a second, because me with my Rock Creek pink bubbly stuff that was atrocious, I was worried that I wasn't going to have a glass of wine. So I was looking for a wine that I could have. That's what I was doing. I was pulling out the replacement card. And the problem with that is we're not changing our behavior. Makes sense? Like, we're not changing our behavior. So when we're changing our behavior, the difference is that, well, what I ended up doing, because luckily it took this stuff a long time to get here and I didn't like it, what I ended up doing was going back to the things that I could do to change my behavior that would replace the triggers that were happening. I get triggered. It's time to cook dinner. Want a glass of wine? Someone else, it's time to watch TV, want some ice cream. Someone else, it's time to do the work, want some, baked goods, whatever it is. You get triggered, right? So the trick is to say, okay, I'm being triggered. How can I, if I can't avoid this trigger, how can I move it, right? If I can't avoid this, how can I move it? So what you can do, there's options, right? Like one thing, well, there's 2 things here. One thing is that if possible, don't don't do what I did. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't try and replace a wine with a fake wine or a ice cream with a fake ice cream. Do something different. Okay. One thing I do is I really do have like tea rituals. And tea rituals are easy right now because it's still a little bit cool where I live. And sometimes it's a little harder to do this in the summer, but I buy, in fact, I brought all my goodies. So I buy, like, this is a tea steeping pot, right? I go buy loose tea, like nice things, right? They're nice things. And instead of worrying about having whatever it is I was going to have, I replace it with a ritual. And it's different if, I mean, think about this for just a minute. It's different if, like, if I just slap a tea bag in a hot cup of water and make do, right? I'm just making do. It's kind of like I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to make do with what I got instead of making something special. Okay. That's where thinking about, instead of a replacement, maybe a ritual, or maybe you change your routine completely. This is something that I do normally in the evenings on a on a on a wild wine infused sugar whatever I want to have month. I'll wash my face, put on my my cream just before I get in bed. Okay, so one thing I can do is, if I'm cooking dinner while something's boiling or something's doing something, I go in and do my face just then. Wash my face, put on the cream, do all that stuff. So I'm switching my routines. Okay. And what's happening when you're switching your routine is you're changing up what your brain's thinking about. Okay. This comes back to paying a lot of attention to what's going on, paying a lot of attention to your triggers, and thinking of ways to deal with them without allowing them to run your way. Because, like, if we just replace, here's some other things that happen with replacements. And this, let's say we're just going to replace. I'm not going to have a dessert at night, so we reach for the potato chips, or we reach for the Doritos, or we reach for, I don't know, whatever it is. We live in a world where companies that produce snack foods are extraordinarily smart. Okay. I mean, there's billions of dollars that go into the research of figuring out how to make us crave these things. So if you replace your ice cream with, let's say, Cheetos is a good one, because, you know, Cheetos, if you've ever had them, they're that nasty orange and it gets on your fingers and it's kind of like, well, what happens is that they figured out that the reason that that stuff gets on your fingers is that when it's on your fingers and you lick it off, it triggers more sensory nerves going on in your brain than just eating the Cheetos. So, like, all I'm saying here, I'm not bashing the Cheeto people, but I'm just saying they're really smart. So think about not using, can I say it, crappy snacks to replace whatever you're trying to replace. Don't use it. Like, go for things that have very limited ingredients. Okay. Go for things that are as health, and we talked about this already, but as healthy and nutritionally dense as you can. Like, one thing I will do, I like blueberries. Blueberries are supposed to be super good for your brain. So I take blueberries. I usually just use raw nuts. Sometimes if I'm like super wild, I might roast the nuts myself, but I just get some raw nuts, toss them with some blueberries, and that's either a snack or a breakfast or a lunch sometimes. Think about things that are super healthy and different. Okay. And I'm going to go back to this whole idea of, like, if you drink wine at night and you're trying to stop it, whatever you're replacing your wine with, like if you're having water with lemon juice in it or something like that, don't use a wine glass. Use a different glass. If you're used to, like, plopping down on the couch with the Pine and Bluebell or Haagen-Dazs in your lap, then when you sit down at the couch to watch something, slice up some fruit, put it on a beautiful platter, eat it slowly. Like, we're shifting our brain here, okay? Because that's where all of this starts. It doesn't really start in your mouth. It starts in your head. Like, whatever we're eating or drinking may be in our mouth, but everything that's getting fired is in our brain. So, and when I say fired, like all the areas of your brain that are getting lit up, that's what's happening. So let me stop for just a second because I want to completely talk about soothers next. Does replacement sound, do y'all get the replacement thing? Because when we just replace with something, right, that's similar to the other thing, we are not changing a habit. Okay. We're not changing a habit. We're just changing a slight action. So we want to change our habit. So soothers. Soothers are the things that you can do that are going to make you feel good while you're making changes. So a soother could be like, it could be tea, like I talked about, a tea ritual. It could be making ginger tea, just like getting some ginger and shredding it up and toss it in some boiling water. It could be like anything that's going to make you feel like you're having something special. And it doesn't have to be something you eat or drink. Okay. It can be, just thinking, well, like I said, changing my night routine. It could be brushing your teeth, right? Maybe, not that you don't brush your teeth every night, but maybe you have a trigger in the afternoon where you want a Coke or a sugary something. That's when you just brush your teeth instead, because all you're doing there, and that's not, I'm sorry, that's not for most people, that's not a soother. That's just, almost a replacement. But, you're looking for ways to change things. So the soothers, what I'd like to think about those is things that are going to make you feel special. Okay. Because our job is to make ourselves feel as good as possible while we're doing this, because as long as we feel good, we're going to keep going, or we're going to give it hell. Okay. But when we don't feel good, when we feel like this isn't any fun, this isn't working, this is, why the hell am I doing this? All of those things, when we're feeling those things, then what happens is that we start having, we start breaking down our ability to continue what we're doing. Okay. And our job is to do everything we can to support ourselves, whether that's the stuff I'm talking about, whether it's support in your life, whatever it is. I mean, our job is to have support, to take care of ourselves so that we can do the things that we want to do. Okay. Some other soothers, like one thing is, and okay, all my soothers that are in front of me today are going to be eating and drinking. So that's just the way it is today. We can talk about more tomorrow. I'll come up with some that aren't eating or drinking. I think I was hungry when I was hungry when I actually sat down and made my notes this morning. I hadn't eaten breakfast. So one of them is that one of the ladies in our other group, I do the same thing. She has sugar in her coffee. Okay. And for me, if I'm not going to have sugar in my coffee, I replace it with like either a coconut creamer, or else I replace it with like a collagen creamer, something that is, has some value, some nutritional value, but doesn't have any sugar in it. So what she figured out was that if she does a milk frother, then her coffee tastes, it's like a cappuccino. It has that kind of sweet flavor, even though there's no added sugar. So there's a lot of things we can do. Okay. There's a lot of them. A couple of other things that I'll just tell you about. I like looking around out there in the world because there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. Like this wine replacement. I mean, it might be the favorite thing for a lot of people. I don't know. It's just not to my flavor. But there's a lot of stuff out there that's very cool. So I went out and one day, and I'm going to show you some more things. I found bedtime elixir. I don't know if I've got my camera flipped or not for y'all, but it's called bedtime elixir. To be 100% honest, it's kind of a little gritty. But what it is it's got like all these things like lavender and tart cherry and chamomile and then some other things that are good for you. They're supplements, but they're there to have it in the evening as something that is like, I'm having a special treat and it's good for me. So does anyone have any suggestions? Like, tell me what you got out there. And on Facebook, if you're telling me what you have out there, you might have to replace it a couple of times. But yeah, tell me what's working for you out there. Anybody? Does anyone have any replacements that they think work? Because I'll keep giving you mine if you don't have any of yours. I do know, like in the Facebook group, I mentioned the ice cream was one of them that came up. Another one that came up was, I think it was Zitherol, if I'm saying it correctly. It's like a sugar replacement. What that is it's a sugar alcohol. Some people, no problem with it. Some people digestively can't handle a sugar alcohol. So one thing I will say about that particular one is it is highly toxic to animals. Okay. That is the reason I've never used it, never tried it, because they put it in a lot of stuff. They put it in toothpaste and chewing gum and things like that. But it's super toxic to animals. So if you have an animal around, be very careful if you use that. And you know what? Just if you want a replacement, just get some stevia, real stevia. Okay. Raw stevia, unprocessed, uncut. Okay. We're like the real stuff, the good stuff, uncut. So, but it's out there. Okay. And it's got kind of a funny sweet flavor, but it works. Okay. So some of the things, here's some things that people have said. Herbal teas, absolutely. Veggie muffins, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think veggie muffins could be good. And this brings up something. Someone on the group yesterday messaged me and she said, you know what? I'm not doing a very good job because I eat carbs. Well, quite frankly, guys, I eat carbs. Like if I don't eat carbs, I starve. I mean, I'm like beans and lentils and rice, and that's kind of my diet. So I do eat carbs, and I don't think there's anything wrong with carbs. What I'd like to see is if we could have as low processed ones as possible. So yeah, I like the idea of veggie muffins. Staying busy, that's a good one. I mean, that's a brilliant one because you're right. It's something different, and staying busy could be anything, right? It could be the walk after dinner. It could be the walk before dinner. Like I normally do all my exercise in the morning, but what I've found myself lately doing is doing a walk before I cook dinner, or doing a bike ride before I cook dinner. Just something casual, right? Just cruising around the neighborhood for a little while. So, oh yeah, another one is ginger and mint tea bags combined. I like that. That sounds tasty. And then intermittent fasting with low carb. Okay, let me read this one. So Liz says she's doing intermittent fasting with low carb. She has less sugar cravings because she drinks water all day until the evening meal. Good for you. Like if you can do so intermittent fasting, if you don't know intermittent fasting, basically it's eating in a very small period of time, right? And like in the morning, from the time you start consuming something until the time you quit consuming something, depends on which one you're doing, but it's maybe 6 to 8 hour time period of eating. End of story. The rest of the time you do not eat. What I will say for intermittent fasting is that it is, you'll lose weight. Like you'll lose weight. Now, when you finish intermittent fasting, you're going to have to figure out how to do it in a way that you don't allow that weight to come back on. But it's probably the one thing that I've seen makes people lose weight. The other thing about it is it's supposed to be really good for your mitochondria. Now, I don't know how scientific that is, but I do know I've read a lot of that. Okay. So intermittent fasting, good for you. If I can see it, you having less sugar cravings, because typically the other thing with intermittent fasting is it's a little bit higher protein. And once again, if we're trying to get rid of the cravings, drinking more water, eating more protein will help. Okay. It will help. It's like, those are probably the things that if you're looking for something to replace, like a food to replace, some sort of protein, some sort of really good quality protein, and then, more water with good stuff in it. Personally, I eat tofu, and I've never, quite frankly, I've never seen tofu do anything for me as far as getting rid of cravings. But I have heard that with like a lot of the really like good meats or good fishes, you will help cut back on the craving. Okay, Other questions, other comments here, because I really appreciated all these, because there's some in here that I didn't think of. I will tell you also, cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of those things that I think is a really good, it's a really good soother, and it's a good replacement too. Like boiling up a couple of cinnamon sticks with some ginger in them. And when I say ginger, you know, just like ginger root, you just like shave it up and toss it in with the cinnamon. It makes a nice tea and smells great. And it really is, it's a soother. It's one of those things that just soothes us. What else? Some other ideas here. Actually, let me just stop for a second. As far as replacements, okay, as far as replacing it with the bad wine I found, some of the, okay, can I say it? Just some of the fake snacks. Is everybody okay with the idea of not using those? Because I'd really like to know, like on a scale of 1 to 5, give me a 5 if you're totally okay with that. And if you're not okay with it, I want to know, because it helps me know how to set up the next 30 days so that you're getting exactly what you need. And I will give you guys just a second to let me know. And if no one wants to say it, that's okay. I'll keep talking. So I'm going to stop for a second, and I'm going to go back to the very beginning. So thanks, Cheryl. Cheryl says, yeah, on a scale of 5. Thank you. Because really, if you can, yeah, Sarah too, if you can avoid those replacements that are really just substitutions, then you're going to be way ahead. I promise you, way ahead. Thanks, Gail. And Rochelle too. Cool. You guys, yeah. Like, just trust me on this one. I've done it enough that I feel really, really safe saying, just trust me. Like, sometimes I'll be like, hey, watch this. This isn't a good idea. Don't trust me on this one. But this one I know. And Charlene, you too. So yeah. And the interesting thing is that the more we do this, the easier it becomes. And for a couple of reasons. Like, one reason, oh wait, hang on, I want to see what Liz is saying. She says she's trying to get from fake snack to whole goodness right now. Good. Yeah, do it, Liz. So when this is why I don't ever look at comments. Someone tell me what the heck I was getting ready to say that. Lisa, what did you just say? Ask me what I'm repeating, because I think it's what I was just getting ready to say. Oh, so while someone tells me what I was talking about, and I swear, like, this is not brain fog. This is just, it is just dumb. And I do know what I was going to talk about. I'm talking about doing this more often, but I'm going to answer Rochelle's question real quick. So Rochelle, what it is that using coffee with a froth is, the way I see it as not being a replacement, or a substitution for sugar, is that most people that are using, that would put creamer in their coffee, are already doing that, right? So like this particular one of my people, she would put cream and sugar in her coffee every morning. And what she found, and I hadn't really thought about it until she said it, was that when she took the sugar out, it wasn't satisfying to her. But when she frothed the milk, when you froth milk, it does have a sweeter flavor. Like if you've ever had like a cappuccino without sugar, first time I got one, I was like, oh, here, I didn't want any sugar. And they're like, there's no sugar in that. And it surprised me. So you're right. It's probably a little bit of a cheat, but it also is something that I can justify because I totally understand. So is that fair? So Lisa was asking me about the 5 rating. What I was looking for was asking you if you're willing to try not using replacements that are really just substitutions, like trying for, instead of substituting the ice cream for the no sugar ice cream that has all the stuff in it that we probably shouldn't eat, substituting it for something that's a healthier option, like looking for new things and new ways of being instead of, I guess this is a better way of saying it, instead of being the same way we were being, we're just using something a little different. So I'm going to come back to the very beginning before I go any further, because this is really important, guys. So let's say you're all in, and I know, did I cheat? Like I totally cheated and told you, 5 days of sugar freedom, which everybody on this call knows that that's not going to happen, right? So if you're all in, what I'm asking is that everybody do like 30 days and use all the things that I'm showing you, please. One of the things that's going to sabotage you is if in those 30 days, instead of changing some of your behaviors when you're triggered, you just shift whatever that behavior is, whatever you're eating or drinking, with something that is a kind of a half-ass replacement, okay? The example is that someone early on had said that her pandemic response was basically a pint or a half a pint or a bowl or something of Bluebell every night. Totally get it. Like I totally get it. But if we replace, if you decide to do no sugar for 30 days and you replace that Bluebell with no sugar Bluebell, then all you're really doing is pacifying your brain, and you're not really making a change. So I'm looking for us to make some changes so that when we decide to get into maintenance mode, and maintenance mode is something that, happens in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or whatever days you want, right? So when you get into maintenance mode, if anyone's ever done this before, what would happen is that, let's say that you've been eating Bluebell at night, okay? And then you switch to no sugar Bluebell. And then you're in maintenance mode, but you think in maintenance mode, well, I can have just Bluebell, just a little bit of Bluebell tonight. And the next night, well, you know what? That tasted a heck of a lot better than the no sugar stuff. I'm going to have a little bit more. And then what happens is that all of a sudden, usually in less than 10 days, we're right back where we started. Okay. And if we can shift some of our behaviors, then what we're doing is we're building a base, we're building a foundation so that we have other options than going right back to where we started and then having to do this over again. And it's not that we won't do it over again, because, I do it all the time, because I know that there are times when it's better for me. I know that, well, when I'm leading a group, right? That's just what I'm going to do. So it's better to start looking for ways of changing our behavior now when we've got the support, so that it's not going to happen. We're not going to be white knuckling it later, because as we all know, white knuckling it isn't going to make it happen. Okay. We have to learn how to make some shifts and changes. Okay. So I'm going to check some comments real quick. Okay. So Lisa says, shocker. Dry milk has sugar. See, I didn't know that, but I could see it, right? I could totally see that it would have. So like going back to the very beginning, as real as you can get your food, the better off you're going to be. Okay. And when I say real, just as basic as you can get it. And then in my Facebook comments, let me see if I've got any questions. Okay, so Rochelle said, and this is really good, Rochelle. So her first question was, how is coffee with frost not a substitute for coffee with sugar? Okay, and what she might be doing is she might be totally calling me out on one of my habits. So, and what I had said was that when you froth it, it has a slightly sweet flavor, and so you can take it out. And so she says, I understand, but trying to wrap my head around why that's different than sugar for your wine. So, okay, honest to goodness, it's probably not. It's probably not. But the difference I see is that She is going to have the coffee. Okay. She's going to have the coffee every day because there's nothing that says she can't have the coffee every day. So that's just a habit. And quite frankly, it is the one habit I have in my life that I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to quit. like flat out, if somebody said, let's do 30 days of coffee freedom, I'd be like, out of here. So sorry, guys. We all have our lines. But the difference is that she's going to already have that, right? It's having coffee isn't impairing her sugar freedom. Okay. But and this is a really good example because the same person also has this thing going on with wine. So she really likes wine. It's her big worry is having too much wine. So for her, having sugar-free wine, all it did was, and she tried it, I mean, all it did was fill in the gap during her first month of no sugar. So it was filling in the gap because she was still doing all the habit and action of drinking the wine, right? It just was a little bit different wine. So she didn't have a change in habit or behavior. Does that answer your question, Rochelle? She wasn't going to change her behavior with the coffee. Like that was already part of what she was doing. So I hope that answers Shell's questions. Let's see. All right, let me go back over here. I've got some other options here, or some other comments in the the Zoom group. So Lisa says that I mentioned balsamic vinegar having sugar. So salad dressings, I would suggest. Okay, this is a good one because most salad dressings either have sugar in them or they have things that have really long letters behind their names, like really, undescribable words. So my suggestion, and I don't know if this works for everyone, this is what I use, okay? For my salad dressing, I use tzatziki, which is, it's just yogurt with like cucumber and onion in it, basically. It's Greek yogurt. I use tzatziki. There's no sugar in it. I will add some olive oil or I use what's called Udos, EUDOS, which is it's like it's an oil that has a lot of the omegas in it. So it's got like flaxseed and it's a mix of oils. Okay. So I use that, the tzatziki. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of white wine vinegar. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of like a Dijon mustard, or actually I think it's stone ground mustard. I don't remember which mustard I use. It's a French mustard that I get that actually my sweet little nephew sends me from France, and it doesn't have sugar in it. And then I'll mix it all together. Makes kind of a strange dressing. Like it's not what you would normally think of as a dressing, but then I coat my salad and to me, it tastes great. So we have to kind of figure out like what tastes good for us and what works for us. I mean, I am somebody who is more of I like salty more than sweet. So, if I have chocolate covered almonds or olives, I'm going to eat the olives. So for me, that works. But you might want to just like look at some of the things that you can create into a dressing, because dressings are kind of personal, I think. On a general month, if I'm not worrying about like sugar, then I usually use Odoo's and balsamic vinegar. But I don't use much balsamic vinegar, just a touch. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let me just tell you what Rochelle says, and then I want to come back here and just talk about one thing real quick. She says, I'm trying to quit so I don't go back to yummy sugary creamer. Yeah, so Rochelle, and for anybody who likes the yummy sugary creamer, I get it. Like for years and years and years, I have used a creamer that is it's a soy-based creamer, and I always had this slight sweetness to it, but I never really thought about it. Okay. because I don't know, I just wasn't thinking about it. When I looked at the ingredients, it didn't really say much. Actually, that's incorrect. When I looked at the sugars, it was like, I don't know, a half a gram or a gram. But then when I looked at the ingredients, I realized that like the second ingredient after the soy creamer was sugar, cane sugar. So I was like, okay, well, it's got sugar in it. So, Liz, I have no idea what's in whipping cream. So I don't know if whipping cream has sugar in it or not. Like I don't know. But what I have learned is that there are a lot of things out there. Like I use, and I don't have it with me here, I use like a collagen creamer, and it doesn't have sugar in it. It has some flavor in it, like it's got some mocha in it, but it's just a powdered thing I get at Whole Foods, and I don't get a lot of collagen, so this is like one of the ways I get it. I'll put collagen creamer in there. I will use like half and half, and when I'm in just maintenance phase, I use about a quarter of a teaspoon of sugar, and I've found that's all I need. That's all I need. But that is maintenance phase. When I'm not in maintenance phase and I'm in sugar-free phase, I just go without the sugar. And I've learned, like, it took me a little while, but I've learned that it's fine. Like I just have learned how to appreciate it like it is. So, and some of these things that we're talking about really are changing our tastes, right? It's changing our taste a little bit. It's like Jamie, for those of you who were on the call yesterday, Jamie said, she was like, I can taste things now that I didn't taste before. She was eating more junk food. If she's on the call, she'll agree with me. She was eating more junk food. And as she quit eating the junk food, then her taste, her little sense of taste has changed. So your sense of taste will change some. And it's probably a good thing, right? Because we're not like coding it, because we are, if you think about it, we're just like coding our sense of taste with sugar. And we get used to it. It's like eating too much salt. Same thing. If you're used to eating too much salt, then what you're going to do is you're going to always crave the salt. And Jamie was here. She says, like, she was, right? Yeah. My mother was a salt eater, and sounds like a bad thing, right? It wasn't good for her health. But what she would do is she would always salt her food in the kitchen. Like I'd catch her doing it all the time. And then she'd come to the table and just like put a little salt on her food. She was like totally throwing down the salt before she got there into her food. So it's because that was what she was used to tasting. Okay. So a lot of this is truly changing our taste buds a little bit. It really is. Okay. I'm going to come back over here and see if anyone has any questions, because as usual, I might as well just quit lying to you guys. We're not, this is not 30 minutes. So if your whipping cream has 1 gram of carbs per serving, what about added sugar? Liz, I'm just going to ask you because I really don't know what's in whipping cream. Zero idea. But just make sure whatever's in it is just like, if it's just whipping cream and there's no added sugar and there's no really strange words behind the name of the whipping cream, then bingo. I mean, I would say why not, but I really don't know what's in there. So I'm just going to run back really quick, starting from the beginning. First day we talked about this. We talked about your why, right? Like, what's your why? Why are you doing this? This is important, okay? Because it's going to be what helps see you through. Did I mention to you that February is sugar-free month? It's going to help you get through that month when you know your why. Your food, like we're looking for foods that are the closest to natural ingredients that we can get, whatever they are. Okay. We're looking, who did the homework yesterday of just like paying attention to your triggers? Anyone? Did anyone like sit down and just like really pay attention to their triggers all day? Because the triggers are what are going to trip you up. Okay. Your triggers are your trippers. I should put that as a post, shouldn't I? You know, because it's true. Your triggers are, if you know them, then you know that when they happen, you can do something different. If you're not prepared for them, then what's going to happen is they're going to catch you and they're going to trip you up. So pay attention to your triggers. Okay. Then today we just talked about like the idea of soothers and replacements. I feel like I was a little bit all over the board today. I apologize. It's a big, this is a really big subject though, I will tell you that. And part of this has to do with the fact that we're going to be talking about replacements, what works, what doesn't, and soothers the entire month of February, because every day there's another option for a soother. Okay. Every day there's another option for switching, changing a behavior. And that's really what we're looking for, because once we change our behaviors, then we're in control. We can do whatever we want. We can decide that we're going to have this, or we can decide that we're not going to have this. Right? And so those are the big things. Those are some really big things that I want everyone to be thinking about. So today, think about, for your homework, come up with a couple of things that you can do that would be a soother to you. And a soother can be anything as simple as, instead of grabbing an apple when you're having a sugar attack and chowing down on it, it's taking that apple, cutting it up, putting it on a nice plate, sitting down, taking a breath, and enjoying what you're eating, right? I mean, that's as soothing as lots of other things. So just think about the things that you could use as soothers. Think about the things that maybe you can shift in your basic day-to-day way of you acting. Like, for instance, let me give you one more about that, because that was kind of a lame thing I just said. A replacement doesn't have to be food and drink. So a replacement could be, it's 3 o'clock, you're triggered because you're kind of tired, right? End of the day, kind of tired, you're triggered. This would normally be when you'd have like a sugary snack, or maybe the Diet Coke or the Coke or whatever it is. Instead of, you get triggered, you think, oh, it's 3, it's time to do the thing I don't want to do. Go for a walk. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm going for an hour hike. It can be, I'm just going to walk around the office, or I'm just going to go, like for me, I'll get up, I'll go clean the kitchen. So, whatever it is, like, start looking for some of those things that you can substitute that are also actions. Okay. You can substitute actions instead of just food and drink. All right. Last thing I have to say. So, a little egg on my face. For all of you, there were quite a few of you who tried to join yesterday for the 30 days. Yeah, that form wasn't working. And probably something I did, because I am not the tech person around here, even though I think I am sometimes. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you want support, if you want accountability, if you want shoulders to cry on, kind of kidding, not really. If you want all of us cheering you on for the month of February, then just come join us. Okay. We've replaced that form where you actually pay with a little form where you put your name and information in, and we'll just send you a little invoice later, and it's $97. Okay. We're not talking about a lot of money. Especially if you think about, well, there's 2 bonuses with it too. And my job is not to sell you right now. My job is to get you to 30 days of sugar freedom. So if you need the support, then yes, my job is to sell you. But there's a couple of bonuses that'll be included too. And if you just fill out the form, we'll send you like a PayPal invoice or something later on. Don't worry about it. What I want is, I want everyone in here to feel as amazing as the people do that I work with day in and day out. Because what happens is, maybe the first week, it's not any fun. Maybe the first 2 weeks, it's not any fun. But by the 3rd week, you are a rock star. And we go through like all these different ways. Like, there's just so many things that you can use to shift your brain that will make this so much easier. I mentioned yesterday tapping and our superwoman, and like, there's just so many like little nuances that when you learn them, it's just like, it's mind-boggling how simple things can be. And the other thing is it's mind-boggling how good you're going to feel when you're not, well, when you're not hitting all the sugar, okay? Whether it's sugar hangovers from wine, whether it's sugar hangovers from too much sugary whatever, because they're the same thing. Whether it's waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like, damn it, I just did the thing again that I wasn't going to do, right? Like, we don't want that. We want to feel powerful. We want to feel in control. We want to feel good. And we want to lose, like, the Buddha belly around the stomach. It starts coming off. Okay. It really does start coming off. So I will make a post with the form. Just put your name and email in the form and you'll get access to everything. And then we'll just send you an invoice later. Like, sometimes I have learned just not to sweat it. Like, there would be one point in my life when I would have been so stressed over the fact that this form didn't work. And I've realized that, whatever. And I will tell you this. Okay. Lisa says to everyone, you realize that the first week ends with the Super Bowl. So is that the end of February or the end? Oh, well, you know what? You're going to need my help. If Super Bowl is one of those things, and by gosh, we will have a Super Bowl sugar-free day. Because like, it's okay. And it's one of those things where you learn, and we talk about this a lot in the group. You will learn that you can just do something different. It's just one day, right? It is just one day. And it's so hard for us to think that way. But in the end, when you wake up the next day and you feel so stinking good and you had really good sleep, even though, like last night, I got really good sleep, even though my precious little kitten woke me up at 1 and kept me up until 3. I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, I felt great. Like, I was refreshed and felt fabulous. And that makes such a difference. It's so big a difference. So this is what I want for you guys. I am done. I am done with my preaching. I am going to probably jump back on this afternoon in case anyone has any questions. And if no one has any questions, I'll talk to myself for a couple of minutes and then I'll be done. But once again, thank y'all so much. And please let me know what I can do to help. And because I'm here for you, I am. And I just, yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much. And I will see you tomorrow or this afternoon if you want to come back by. Take care. Love you. Bye-bye now.